Pro Football Hall of Famer and Cowboys legend Michael Irvin joins us now. Of course, Michael, what has this experience been like for you to be part of this Netflix series and then now being able to watch the final result?
Well, it's really been an incredible experience, really, because first of all, you get to work with people at Netflix. Those are great people at Netflix, and coming into our game and bringing what they bring to our game to help grow it and expand it. So I'm absolutely excited about that, but also reliving the moments. We always talk about we're all high achievers, the guys that played the Emmets and the Deons and all. We always trying to work on the next thing and doing the next thing. To go back and revisit our history like that. Yeah, we all started calling each other, looking at it and saying, damn, we were good. We were good.
You got that right. That is so true. Now, we saw you with Jerry in the documentary. What do you remember about him during your time as a player versus who he is now?
Well, first of all, what I remember is Jerry's always been big. And when he first bought the Cowboys, I remember the first thing he said to me was, Mike, Dallas Cowboys should be the first thing on everybody's mind in the morning and the last thing on everybody's brain at night. And basically, I thought he was crazy. But the reality is, that's exactly what has happened. Wake up and turn on your TV, turn to any sports channels. The first thing people talk about is the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah, and looking at that documentary and seeing that he didn't just happen up upon this, that this was his directed goal. He wrote a college thesis on the broken system in the NFL. That was impressive to me.
Your Jerry impersonation's really good, by the way. And to your point, we are talking about the Cowboys on NFL Live today. The news of the day, our Adam Schefter reporting that the Cowboys are now listening to trade offers for Micah Parsons. What's your reaction to that?
Micah Parsons, hey, look, you can report all you want. There's no way they're allowing Micah Parsons to go anywhere. All of this is part of the negotiations. And as I talked to Jerry the other day on my podcast, and he was talking about it the other day when he tried to make that offer, he said somebody told him to shove it up his rear and all of that. Honestly, it blew my mind. It blew my mind that any kind of conversation like that would be going on in a situation like this. Micah Parsons, I want him to take control of this thing and say, I don't care about you two and whatever y'all got going. Get your butts in a room and get my money on that paper. That's what you need to be doing. So I'm hoping that's what gets done. But I guarantee Micah Parsons not going anywhere. Jerry's not that crazy. This is all what we call just negotiation stuff.
I love it. That's really wise advice from someone who has had an extended holdout with Jerry Jones on the other side. Michael Irvin, thank you so much for joining us here. And guys, check out the documentary. It's absolutely incredible. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Laura. You guys you do such a great job. Keep doing the work you're doing. I appreciate it. I enjoy it, and I learn a great deal.
Well, golly, that made my day.
It was great.
You make mine. Thanks. Thanks, Laura.
Oh, that was fun. All right, so here's what's happened with Micah Parsons, just to catch you up on everything. You can see all of the twists and turns of this, and as we heard earlier, Mike T alluded to this, it felt like this would have been the easiest deal to get done when we were talking about deals needing to get done this summer, and here we are. So, Graz, catch us up on everything. What can you tell us on why the Cowboys are now listening to trade offers?
I think we've gotten to the point, Laura, where we have a week to go before their first game. There hasn't been progress on a long-term deal with Micah Parsons since really Jerry Jones and he spoke in March. That now famous conversation that Jerry felt led to a deal and then felt like Micah and his agent went back on it again. Not saying that's what happened. That's what Jerry says happened. So there haven't been talks. He hasn't practiced. He stands there, on the practice field, or he's lying on the training table, or he's eating nachos as he's walking in, whatever. So it's gotten to a point where I think the Cowboys have confronted the idea of, like, maybe he really isn't going to play for us. And if that's the case, then we need to see what we can get. We need to at least listen. And also, like, you get to this point, if you were, and we don't know if this has happened yet, if you were to let Micah Parsons' agent talk to other teams about a potential contract ahead of a trade, then you've now presented to him real-world scenarios, right? Like, hey, you could go to this place, you could go to this place, or you could stay here and take the deal we were talking about in March. So it may just be a way for the Cowboys to kind of hasten a resolution, which I think they would really like to get one way or the other prior to the end of Labor Day weekend, which is coming right up.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Graz, because that feels like what's happening here. I mean, you just heard Michael Irvin talking about this too. Like, this is part of the negotiation. But Mike, let's say if you're the Cowboys, what would it take for you to potentially trade a player like Micah Parsons away? Because this just feels unfathomable to me that they actually do it.
Yeah, I agree. But if you're going to do it, multiple first-round picks and a really good quality young player on a rookie deal. So talking about Detroit, maybe Green Bay, Tampa Bay, maybe it's 2 first-round picks and a guy like Brian Branch or Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary isn't as young as Brian Branch, but you want a good young player that has high upside with multiple first-round picks. Again, I'm not making the trade if I'm Dallas, but the acquiring team would also have to get in a room with David Mulugeta, the agent for Micah Parsons. That deal literally should take under an hour. It's $42 million a year. It's above TJ Watt. You're probably going to have to guarantee the first 3 years, which is a reasonable thing to do given the age of Micah Parsons at 26. So I think that part gets done. But to Dan's point, you need permission because he is under contract, as Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, said earlier that he can't comment on it. But this could happen fast. I have made sign-in trades within 24 hours. So teams could be laboring on Labor Day weekend.
Oh, wow. That was a good one. All right, so here's the thing. Mike, you have said in commercial break, which I think is really interesting, you talk about how fast this could happen. They're going to be on a plane, the Cowboys are, in 6 days. That's your line that happened behind the scenes here. So, Mina, if the Cowboys were really to do this, they trade Micah Parsons, what does this defense look like without him, excuse me?
Not great, Laura. Not great. They still have talented players on the defensive line. Osa Odighizuwa, they did manage to pay. It is really an underrated 3-tech. And then opposite him, you have options like Dante Fowler Jr. You drafted Donovan Izaraku, Marshawn Nealand, who they drafted recently. I like all those players. I like them a lot more if Micah Parsons is being double-teamed on the other side. But behind them is where you start to get worried. Linebacker group is a question mark, especially with DeMarvion Overshown still hurt. The secondary, lots of injuries in that cornerback room. To me, the case for this Dallas defense being average, at least, is entirely predicated on them having a dominant pass rush. That is the strength of the unit. You take Parsons out, we'd see, maybe they would get players back in return. I don't know, but I can tell you this. They're not going to get players back who are as good as Micah Parsons, and it's going to be worse as a result.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is let's go into the rooms of 2 coordinators. So a name we haven't talked a lot about, Matt Eberflus, the former head coach of the Bears. He's trying to establish himself as a new defensive coordinator. If I was the GM of the Cowboys, I'd say, hey, look, Micah Parsons, assume he has a soft tissue injury, he's out this week. As Laura just said, Sunday is really Wednesday. They have to implement their main game plan on Sunday's practice. That's remarkably close to where we are. So if I'm Matt Eberflus, I have to assume I'm not going to have Micah Parsons, and we have to go with all the other players Mina just mentioned. The inverse, guys, is Kevin Patullo. He is the new offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. I am sure